Before I get these tips and tricks away, I gotta give you the verse of the day. Today I'm gonna show you how I did this pretty cool 2-in-1 mask effect. First, I made the footage a compound clip so that you could contain the mask, the magic mask information inside the compound clip. That's kind of important so you don't keep losing your tracking data once you track. So we did shift enter to bring up that menu, and then we typed in magic mask, and now we start masking Fabulous in the stage. So I'm literally just drawing over him, adding the pieces I want. So I do want the stage. I want that whole left side because the effect is going to give the illusion that the words are coming from behind Fabulous. So it's strategy behind all that, which is why I'm including every detail behind them as well, so the words can kind of slide from back there, and it's going to look like they're sliding from behind his body specifically once we finish out this effect. So I'm literally just drawing on the sections I want, and I just want that left side all covered, as you can see. Then I'll clean up the speakers over on the edges. So we gotta switch to subtract and remove any parts of the mask we might not want, and it could be a little finicky sometimes. So I'm undoing it so I kind of hit that sweet spot just to cut out the part I want. As you can see, I just did one small swipe and that was good to go. So now we have the mask, and next we'll have to do the tracking to track the mask through the entire section. And to do that, we hit both the forward and backwards arrow to track forward and track backwards. So that's what's happening here. And if you ever wanted to delete it, it took me forever to figure this out, but if you ever wanted to delete a line that you made, hit select, then select the line you want to delete, then hit the trash can right there. Alright, for the sake of time and avoiding repeating steps that I already did, because technically I'm a magic mask twice. So by the time we in the middle of this video, you're going to know how to magic mask if you don't already. But I wanted to just quickly explain the girl what I did just as a breakdown, because I'm technically going to touch that up in the middle of the video, and I'm going to do a magic mask on Fabulous. But the same process I used to do a magic mask around Fabulous, I did on her. But I'm just showing you the layers of how I did this part, just so you can see how it's set up in the project. But I won't break down this part because it's going to be the same as the Fabulous mask. On this part, I'll just break down the layering of how I did everything. So I magic masked her, and this is a freeze frame of the first clip in this next scene. So this is what it transitions to. After I grabbed the freeze frame, I magic masked her out to get just the outline of her body, and then I use zoom and position to bring her down here and make it look like she's in the crowd. So that's part of the effect. The idea was to put her behind the speaker to sell it a little more and make her look like she's actually in the crowd. And then I grew her out the crowd into the next scene as a transition. So this is just how it's layered. If I showed you the layers, you can kind of see. If I took the layer off, you see her down there. Kept the layer above that so it could look like she's in the crowd. This freeze frame goes into the scene before. This is part of what you would want to do to pull that effect off. But this is simply a freeze frame effect going into the next scene. For this part, I just wanted you to see the layering and how I did it as far as the freeze frame. So this is her. And that's the mask on top of her duplicated just to make her look like she's in the crowd. Then we play it through. It transitions to that. One last part is I keyframed this. This is keyframed all the way back into the position she was originally in. So from this position that you see, if I skip to the end, it goes reset back to 1 so it could match snap into the next scene. Okay, this is the next step. I'm going inside of the compounded clip. I compounded the freeze frame as well. Went inside. If you don't know how to do that, you open clip and timeline, right click, open in timeline, and you can go inside the compound clip. Switch to the fusion page, and right here I'm just touching up the mask I already created earlier. Like I was saying, I was just avoiding doing 2 different magic masks in this video for the sake of time. Right here, I'm just tracking back and forth the frames so that we could keep the freeze frame the entire duration of the animation that's going to happen. So when I say 2-in-1, it's a mask here and it's a mask with Fabulous, and that mask with text is also in the background of Fabulous. So we got 2 things going on at once, which makes it the 2-in-1 mask effect. Now originally this how it looked. I'm just skipping frames one at a time just to kind of look at it. I ended up deciding to do it differently, which is what you're going to see on this next part. And right here you can kind of see what I was talking about with her appearing. So I just did a crossfade in so she doesn't pop up. She fades in down there, crossfade at the beginning of the freeze frame, and then this is the animation I did for her to grow back into the original position. So I literally just shrunk her with zoom and position controls into the spot I wanted her to be in. And with that layering I was talking about, I layer her behind the main mask of Fabulous so that she could look like she's behind the speakers and in the crowd. And then I made her grow in to the original position for the freeze frame transition. So for this next part, notice I said I was gonna just reset and just I ended up changing my mind here as far as that animation I originally had for Breathe. So to see the way it kind of came together, I duplicated the Breathe text, as you can see on that right side, text plus. I duplicated the old one is below. I always keep a backup of what I originally did, just in case I ever wanted to say skip it. Let me go back to what I had originally or refer to it for any reason. So in this case, I remove all attributes is what you're seeing me do right there. And then I'm literally changing the settings as far as where the text is with center X and Y, getting the text in position where I want it to be. And I like the idea of his fingers going through the text just to sell the mask a little more as it fades out. So after getting everything positioned how I want it, I basically opened up the Fusion tab so I could start working on the animation. If for whatever reason the text doesn't carry over into Fusion, you can go back to the timeline, copy the text clip you have in the timeline, you could go in Fusion and paste it, and it will appear there. So for this step, we click the text node, keep an eye on the red line. The yellow lines are the in and out points. I skip to the end to keep Breathe in position, and then I activate the center X and Y so that I could get ready to create my animation. So once I activate the keyframe there, I'm now able to drag the Breathe in the path that I want it to go. But before I do that, I have to move that red line to the beginning. So at that point, I could click and drag, and the animation will create from there. And you'll know you're doing it right if you see that green line kind of connecting and showing the path that you're going to go in. At that point, you got the Breathe animation. We'll go into the settings, add some motion blur, kind of tweak the speed and timing however you like. In my case, I made sure I did it to the beat. That's always the best way to do it to make the edits look super professional. Now we work on adding the fade of Breathe. So we click in the sun right there to add a brightness contrast node. Then from there we want to activate alpha, the small A up top. Then create a keyframe for gain where you want it to kind of start to fade out. And then once you get to where you want to be to fade out, you just drop the gain to 0, and that'll create the cross dissolve fade away effect, as you can see here. And it helps for those blue markers right there. I use those blue markers on the timeline. I'll mark where I wanted it to start and fade out. So that's how I was able to quickly find the spot I wanted the text to fade out at. Next, we'll be working on the ease in, ease out. So this is just to make the animation go a little more smooth. You want to click spline up top, highlight it all, press S on the keyboard to smooth it out automatically like that. And I ended up deciding to tweak things a little bit more by highlighting and then hitting T on the keyboard to have full control over that ease in, ease out if S doesn't work for you. So after playing around with the numbers a little bit and getting that sweet spot I wanted, which ended up being around 33 and 70, I got the ease in, ease out animation that I wanted. On this next part, went to keyframes, the keyframe tab up top. I activated the text 1, and I'm dragging out that bar just to make the animation last a little longer, so I'm just adjusting the keyframes there. It's the same thing as playing with the diamonds with keyframes. It's just in Fusion, so it looks a little different. Here we're still in the keyframe section. I'm about to skip to the end of the animation with the slide and movement. Add a size keyframe because right now I'm about to adjust the size so it look like that the breathe is growing from behind Fabulous. So I just dropped the size to create that keyframe. And on the next part, I open the spline control here again. You could click those dots to kind of deactivate other stuff you're not working on at the moment. So right now I'm just working on the size, and I literally just matched up the ease in and ease out numbers to match the displacement center, X and Y movement, so that everything could kind of flow together smoothly. Command scroll to zoom out just like I did without having to go and play around with zoom in, zoom out controls. But now we got the smooth grow in animation there. And the last thing we're going to work on is adding motion blur. So to add motion blur, I ended up just having to make sure the text is selected and picking the point where I want to kind of see the motion blur come in at, and clicking on motion blur, and it ended up giving me the effect I needed. I didn't have to make too many adjustments. I was almost surprised because I was prepared to create the animation, but it looked like the Resolve in this case detected the movement of my keyframes and stopped the motion blur for me automatically once the movement ended. That might or might not always be the case, so you might want to be prepared to adjust those motion blur settings to get what you're looking for in your project. And that is pretty much it. As long as that layering is on point and matching up to pretty much what I did, you should be good to go. And if you exit out of Fusion, you'll kind of see everything come together. That's what the finished product will look like. I would turn the music on so you could see it all together, but I don't want to run into any copyright issues. Now the full video is linked down below, so you could check out the full video, see this effect within the actual video, and see some other effects that I'll be breaking down as well. So be sure to go check out that full video. It's one of my best projects I've done, one of the ones I had the most fun with. The only bad part is that the night I was filming this, my granddad passed away. So that's literally the only bad thing about this whole project in itself. But I love this project, and I hope you do too once you go check out the full version. Please like, share, subscribe, comment below if you have any questions. It's Sean, and I'm out.